Hi, hello everybody. Thank you so much for having a watch. And this is the Sphere of Being podcast, all about caring for those who care for others. And this is the interviews. So today we have the most amazing lady called Carolyn Hobbs from, well, we call her the Queen of Cards, but it's Cardbox is her business. And what she does is write the most amazing messages by hand. She'll write the gorgeous cards for you, send them anywhere in the world so that you can have that personalized touch to your loved ones and your friends or even your business. And you can make that impact that if you're anything like me, my handwriting is appalling. And I always make mistakes and I think, oh, good me. So actually, Carolyn's job is fabulous. She does a great job. And as we're here about caring for others, Carolyn's heart is enormous. She's one lady with a big heart, cares for so many people, just absolutely fantastic. So Carolyn, welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And I'd love, if you wouldn't mind, to just tell everybody a little bit about what you do, but importantly, where you come from with this, where you're centered at, and what you do with your heart in the work that you do.
Well, Carolyn's Card Box came into existence 5 years ago. No, 6 years ago, when I was part of a multi-level marketing company, Flamingo Papery, and sadly they ceased to trade May last year. So I thought that I would, when they came into existence, I thought that I would put some own branding on it. So Carolyn's Card Box. I ran a competition with people to come up with a name, and it turned out to be one of my neighbours, who's a friend, and so she came up with that. So I had the postbox, the logo designed, obviously the letter. I love lavender, and I post letters and cards, so it seemed to go as a whole. So the logo evolved that way, and my neighbour won some cards. I gave her some cards as a thank you. But yes, it started, really the writing service started when COVID hit, because people around the world, the postal services had stopped, of course. Some countries don't have postal services, but there were no planes, were there? So people would make contact. So I send from the UK to the UK. So I don't send out of the UK because it's quite expensive. So to keep the cost down for people and the time element really for outside of the UK is perhaps 3 to 4 weeks for a card to get here, and that people need to know that it's going to arrive with their relative or their friend on time. So I always say that it will arrive in approximately a week, because obviously I can't guarantee what our postal service does here, but it takes a lot less time than it would if it was posted from abroad. So really it's connecting families and keeping families connected, which is an important thing. People want to do that. And also when COVID hit, I have some customers. So I have sort of multi-levels of my business. I have the card writing service and also mail order and local customers that buy. And I have elderly customers that aren't on the internet. It's not even in their realm to look on a computer to buy something. So local customers, I just used to pop all the cards in boxes, put it on my wheelie, and wheel it round to their gardens and set up shops in their gardens so they could choose some cards. They already had some stamps, but if they needed stamps, I could get them for them. And obviously keep a distance like we were told to. So they would, I would sit in the shade because I'm not very keen on the sun. And they would look through my pop-up shop. And that's how I facilitated people locally to have cards and keep in touch with family and friends.
I think that's absolutely wonderful. What a wonderful gift. And thinking about those people that can't get out. Often we care for people who have illness or infirm or have mobility issues. How did you think your presence there affected their well-being from a mental perspective? Did you see, what did you come across when those people came out and looked at your cards, etc.? What was the sentiment that you got from that?
Warm. You know, they've been included. You know, very often, you know, people, elderly people, and well, the whole sphere of people. You know, there can be loneliness, there can be people. So you can be alone in a family, but loneliness is a different level, isn't it? Where people don't see one another, and you could see that they enjoyed somebody being around. You know, they're always sort of looking around, chatting while they were looking through the cards. You know, there's I think it's you know, we're all meant to, we're kind of herd animals, aren't we? Really. You know, we gather in crowds. Not everybody, of course, but mostly we are a herd. We're a herd creature. We go in crowds. We enjoy others surrounding us. You know, and loneliness can be, or can hit anybody at any time. You know, something could happen in families, and somebody takes something the wrong way that is said, and you get these things that happen in families that, I'm not speaking to her, she said, and so on. So, you know, there's all sorts of elements that actually one doesn't necessarily think of, you know, that somebody could be on their own, but fundamentally we're a crowd creature. And yes, they very much enjoyed me being there. And you know, sometimes I get a phone call, and the phone call would sort of extend from have you got this card, or have you got that card? And you know, and a lot of customers I've had for quite some time, so know them a little better than just somebody that would perhaps be behind a shop counter. This is why I like to offer a personal service. You know, there was going back to actually soon after lockdown happened in March 2020. Somebody that I've known for a long time. So this lady I've known since I got married in 1997. I'm not married now. And at our wedding reception, we had the local amateur dramatic group do Midsummer Nightmare. And the fairies were in hobnail boots and tutus, and they were men. And she was the director of the play, and so I've known her quite some time. And she had a dear friend that had died. I don't think it was through COVID, and she needed a sympathy card, and she contacted me at 9:30 at night and said, "I need a card. It's got to be there in the morning." So you wouldn't get a shop that did that.
And this is
so
it,
she
isn't it? Yeah, thank you. It's interesting, isn't it? You know, this personal service, and that when we care about others, you see, the whole thing is people naturally think, and which is fine, because I cared for my elderly mum before she passed away for a number of years, about 10 years, in fact. But it doesn't just extend to these bigger acts of caring. You are very good at caring on that micro level of actually how that impacts somebody when we're helping somebody who's in need at the time that they need it. And how I'd like to explain about how if you're putting yourself out to support somebody, is there anything that you get from that as a plus point as well?
Yes, I'm able to help them keep in touch with their families by having a lovely, albeit a folded bit of card with a picture on it, and they're writing the words in it, because that's fundamentally all a card is. It's a folded bit of card with a picture on it. and they write their words in it. Okay, the picture, you know, should be relevant to the recipient, but I'm the facilitator of them being able to keep in touch with their family and friends.
You see, when you look at it like that, it's much deeper, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're putting more of a psychological thing into this, aren't
Yeah.
we?
Yeah.
You do this on a daily basis and you do it very well. What do you think it is behind that folded bit of card with an image? What do you think brings about that sentiment, that emotion?
Well, people like to be connected, so they like to have something that is relevant to the person. So the person might like gardening, they might like flowers, they might like buildings, whatever they like or know that the recipient likes or has a passion for, to be able to choose. So they've taken the time to choose a card that has something on the front that is relevant to the person that is receiving the card, and then they can put their own words inside the card. They can write a poem, whatever they want to do. It might be thinking of you, love, or whatever. It could be far more than that. Doesn't need to be necessarily, but the fact that they've taken the time to choose the card, to write in it, to address it, to post it to that person, you know, it's a whole story, isn't it? It's not just choosing a card, whimsical. Oh well, I'll choose that one and I'll put it in the post. More thought goes into it.
Yes,
Yeah.
more thought, more thought. And isn't that thing you're talking about, connection and the thought behind that connection? Because we can be living in a very transactional, in the moment, kind of non-emotional, just do.
Mm.
And caring for those who care for others, it's taking the time. You mentioned about time, taking the time out to think about something and put one's thoughts and feelings into it.
Mm.
And that connection, I'd like you to delve into this a little bit more, because again, you're touching upon stuff actually that we take at superficial level. But actually, from what I'm gathering now, you're coming across something which is making me feel a lot deeper about things that we sometimes take for granted. And when you're looking at that, taking the time, taking the thought, how do you think that shows up to the person that's receiving it?
That they're not alone, that they're thought of by, it may be family member, or it could be somebody that is a neighbor, or somebody that knows them through somebody else. You know, when you have somebody perhaps that has been ill, say, or they've been in hospital, and they receive all these get well cards, and some of the cards are probably from people that they perhaps don't know. They're friends of friends, or somebody here. Oh yes, you know, people, I think people enjoy sending cards. Okay, yes, there's the cost element in it, but I always say about that, well, if it's further away than 4 or 5 miles, it's going to be cheaper to post it rather than drive it there. It's going to be expensive to drive it to Scotland. You know, yes, it's expensive, but it's a lot. We have a far better postal service than a lot around the world. But I think people just enjoy that connection, that the thought, you know, I'm thinking of you. You know, it's not just, as you say, it's not just a card. It does go a lot deeper than just the card. You're thinking of people. You have this empathy, don't you, with others, and that's one way of showing it. You know, some people might be embarrassed to show their empathy, but they can do it in a written form. You know, by choosing a card that they think is going to suit the person. And they're able to put words down. They might not be able to say it, but they could write it. And some people are the other way around. They would prefer to say it than write it. Yeah.
I think that's a beautiful way of looking at it. And I thought about that before, but it hadn't come to the forefront of my mind for a long time. That sometimes difficult things to say, emotions, especially perhaps if there's a bit of history, there's a bit of unease or something like that, but we can write these things down in a card, which a few words can really change the trajectory, change the journey of emotions, isn't it? And,
Yeah.
when we're caring for others, whether we be bosses of people or whether we're mums and dads and living busy lives and looking after our children, sometimes those little, you're being thought of, I love you, to the best mum in the world, or,
Hmm.
writing that card. I think there's something about the words, and I know that you actually write cards for people as well, don't you? You actually do the words for
Yes.
people, which can be a wonderful thing if somebody hasn't got the motor skills to be able to write themselves, or it
I
could
would
be.
always discuss it. I would always discuss it with people. I wouldn't just write my words because it's not my message. It's their message. So I'm facilitating it for them. So generally I would ask them to send me the words, but if they struggle with that, then we can always chat about it. And, maybe they could be somebody that has maybe a motor lacking of our motorized skills.
Yes.
So you just think of something and you perhaps sow a seed. You can't, I can't say what I want them to write, or what they're asking me to write. I can't say the words. They have got
Mm.
to say the words to me. So I would perhaps sow a seed
Yes.
and do it
And
that
that,
way.
it comes back to something which I've been thinking for a while, is that we've got some basic emotional needs as people. One is to be seen, one is to be heard, one is to be validated for the wonderful people that we are as individuals. And I think that especially when you've got loved ones or people that you know, and even, it could be, I've done this to clients or potential clients. We have a very electronic age at the moment, and we have a stream of emails and texts and WhatsApps and you name it, we've got it, and sometimes it's a burden, isn't it, to hearing from so many people.
Mm.
People who write letters, who actually write them, people who write cards, how do you think that sets those people apart from the ones that do the emails and the little texts and stuff? Do you see there's any difference in that?
Yes, I think to me, this isn't to diss people. And I know people are very busy and they have very busy lives. But isn't it just an action rather than a thought that they're doing?
Mm.
Oh well, perhaps I should say, whether it's they're thinking, they're perhaps thinking it on a very light level rather than a deeper level. Oh well, I just need to thank them, and it's just like saying I'll have a cup of tea. It's maybe a fly by night throwaway comment, and not any deeper. It's okay. We know that it's polite to say thank you and please and all the rest of it, but sometimes with people being so busy, they would perhaps say, I haven't got the time to write a card. Now, I have met and I was introduced to somebody who has been sending cards for about 10 years. Prior to that, and it's a gentleman, prior to that, he thought, what a waste of time. Who would send a card? And the value of sending a card after he's had a meeting, a network meeting, thank you very much for the meeting. And he would now not ever not send a card. It has turned his business around by that gesture, that thought. So and also too with our emails and our WhatsApps and our texts, it's really, if you look at the depth of it, it's not sustainable. It might be quick, but it's not sustainable, because you've got satellites that are affecting the climate. If we really want to go deep, all these things are affecting the climate. Emails are not sustainable. Nothing electronic, it really is sustainable. Cards are sustainable because we have plantations of trees that are planted for wood pulp. So that is a sustainable form of, okay, a lot of people say, well, we don't want the trees cut down. It is secular. It's in the industry of that. So and you cannot put an email or a text message or a WhatsApp message in a frame on a wall. You can with a card. You can put that memory, you can put it in a frame and put it in the little room in the house, if you follow me. Or they might want to put it in the entrance hall, just so when every time they see it, that person thought of me. You know, it's a memory. So you capture that. Yeah, it's if you really think deep, a lot of people they perhaps don't want to. You know, that they don't want to think anything more than, oh well, I've just got thank you and just pop a message. But to say the gentleman that now will not send a card, he said it's invaluable, really invaluable, and it's you know, he's made friends through doing that, as well as doing business with people.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? Because this is a whole thing about caring, going a little bit more than what is perceived as normal, doing a bit above and beyond. And
yeah,
these little things all add up, don't they? And I remember my elderly mother, when she used to get cards, especially from family that she'd not seen in a while, for a birthday or Christmas, she'd touch the card. She'd actually feel the card and keep touching it, because she got the essence of the person or the people that had sent her the card, which was lovely. It was lovely. And she'd always look at the picture, and she'd always, you know, she could tell if somebody had made an effort to think, as you said at the beginning, to make the picture relevant and resonate with her. And Mum used to like the ones with the poems in, you know, and she'd like to look at that. Now, I just realized, you know, when you were talking, how much this can really mean to somebody, especially if they don't get out much, especially if they're not, you know, I look around and think mobile, internet, computer, laptop, all these devices, and it's just second nature. But you're quite right, there are a lot of people who don't have that technology and who are still reliant to have communications by letter, by card, and it's just a lovely thing, isn't it, to be able to show somebody that you care.
It is. And when so I obviously I have to use email in my business, we all do, and I sent an email out explaining that Flamingo Papery, who is the company that I got the cards from, were going out of business. And one of my customers, who lives about 25 miles away on in a place called Mersey Island, so it's fairly, the causeway to the island is title. So, but she's disabled. So when I said, she misread the email, and I said, you know, the business has ceased trading, and she thought that I was ceasing trading, and she emailed me back in a flat panic. So, well, how am I going to get my cards? I'm disabled. I can't get out.
Mm.
And, you know, I then went back to her and said, look, I'm not ceasing trading. I'm continuing, but where I get my cards from. So the card designs are going to change because I can't get them from there anymore.
Mm.
Oh, she said, what a relief. She said, because I don't know many people where I live. So just the point you were saying. Yeah, it's you don't realize until I hadn't realized she was disabled until she'd been a customer for quite a while.
And you see, this is the thing, isn't it? You don't realize about people until maybe an event happens. I found this is why, you know, with my co-host Norma, when we do our more of our talk show, you don't realize that maybe people are disabled or infirm. You don't realize that people are caring for others in a big way, elderly relative or children with superpowers, or, you know, people with partners with dementia in their lives or what have you. And it's for me, it's trying to get deeper than just the superficial. And caring about the relationship as much as to try and make it as beneficial as possible, is to go a little bit deeper. Now, the interesting thing is, now that we've had this conversation, you're educating me and giving me insights into like the psyche of about cards and how they make a difference, and receiving them, and what the person feels when they receive, and what the person feels when they're gifting the card. And through you, obviously, you get that all done very nicely and efficiently, etc. Can you give people a little bit of like your do's and don'ts? What makes a really good message, or what makes the receiving of a card really good?
Actually, simply receiving the card.
Yeah.
In a nutshell. It doesn't, okay, yes, the words matter, but it's actually receiving the card. So there are, so I did a talk last year for one of the business associations, health and wellness, and I did the talk on mental health and how cards can help with people that have mental health issues and how that can help. And in actual fact, a test has been done in the form of some people were given pills and some people were sent cards. And guess who, what value, guess which group got the most value?
You see, it's the
Those that were
cards,
sent
isn't
cards.
it? Yeah.
Yep.
And this is coming back to being seen and being heard and being validated, because people need to think they're being thought about.
Yeah.
They get a lot of it from it, don't they? It's that collective, knowing that you're not on your own, that people care for you, and even that little token can have immense value, can't it? It's like a bit like receiving a photograph. My mother used to like getting the photographs of the family and getting the little nieces, you know, the grand nieces and all the little kiddies as they come up, and she used to love looking at the young faces. And it's that somebody's taking the time and trouble to think about you, isn't it? That you're loved and that you're wanted. Yeah. What would you say to anybody that was thinking, well, I think that's a bit too sort of sentimental for me, I'm not really that kind of person? How would you help them maybe to see the benefit of doing this card and getting it out to somebody?
So they're seeing, that's their point of view. They're not thinking of the person that's on the receiving end. Yes, that's what they're thought of, not the person receiving it. So in a way, that's a selfish comment.
Yeah, that's really eye-opening. It's not about the person sending it, it's thinking about the person that's going to receive it. There's a big message there, isn't there? It's a big message. That might be a bit uncomfortable for us, but for the other person, it would make their day, it could make their week, could make their month.
Yeah. This is why I offered the writing service to people overseas, to their elderly relatives. So if they want to send me the wording, or if they want to receive a letter, and especially if they're in an elderly people's home, you know, it will make their week. You know, oh, I got a letter from my son or my great niece or whoever it might be. You know, it's the talk of her world because she's received a letter or card.
Yes. And do you think that the chaps, do you think the guys, do they like receiving cards as much as the ladies?
I don't think they'd admit it, but I think they do.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and especially if somebody's thought of, you know, maybe they like classic cars or motorbikes or something like that, and somebody's really thought about that, and they've received a card with a design like that on the front. So it makes all the difference.
Do you know what you're doing for me now? I just feel like you're giving me this lovely warm hug. I'm
Well,
guessing that's what feels like from getting a card. I'm just, because
yes,
I'm
hugging the post.
imagining it, I'm just feeling it now. Yeah, I think what you do is wonderful, Carolyn. I've always thought that. And you're bringing a little sunshine into people's lives. It's not expensive, but it means so much. It's priceless in a way, isn't it? You know?
Yes, I suppose it is. Yes.
Yeah.
If you look at it in that way, yes.
Yeah. And you know, people can keep that. My mum used to keep all the cards for years in a box and go in the box, and she'd look at them every now and again and creating memories. I love that. So thank you so much. Thank you. Now, if people are inspired to want to get in touch with you and have a chat with you about the cards, or indeed want to use your service to shine some light and love to the people that they care about, employees, clients, whatever, how can people get hold of you?
I'm on LinkedIn. I can be found on Facebook and also Instagram. People can message me, and my contact details. You know, if people want to text me, all my mobile details are within those platforms.
Lovely. There's a QR code as well behind you that people can take.
Oh yes, the QR code. That's to my website, I believe. I did it so long ago, I can't remember.
Quite sure.
Oh, that's really efficient, isn't it?
You're the card writer. You can get away with that. You don't have to worry about QR code. But put it all up on the show notes as well, so that's all good, etc. as well. But Carolyn, thank you so much for being such an inspiration to us today. I've really, really enjoyed getting under the skin of all of what is the cards, and it's just really interesting that it's a lot deeper.
Yeah.
So much more can be given. Love and making the difference in people's lives. It's
there's great value in it.
Yeah, little acts of kindness, little bit of compassion and
in
love,
the post.
and pop it in the post. Get Carolyn to do the cards. Now, I love that idea. Thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, it's a pleasure, darling. It's a pleasure. And so, you know, until the next time, and keep up the good work. And
thank you.
Lovely. Oh, well, thanks everybody. Thanks for having a listen, and we'll be back with other lovely guests talking about caring for those who care for others. And until next time, see you soon. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye now. Bye-bye.
Bye.